And then I noticed that nothing got actually filed until the 25th. So I was trying to figure out why are we even wasting all of our time doing this when it was paid, and everything's caught up.
You're not a victim here. Pay what's owed and move on. So South Short versus Eric Olson. Good afternoon, sir. Are you Eric Olson?
Yes, sir.
All right. I see you got a Chinese democracy. I want you to take your hat off, if you would.
All right. I'm at work right now, so I'm a little rough.
All right. That's all right. You're here, so that's a good thing. Also present is attorney Kristen Anderson from the Sutherland Law Firm on behalf of the apartment complex. Meg Bauer's not here from legal aid, and no one's here from the complex yet. And we have another South Short case following shortly, but that's a dismissal. So let's talk about this one. This is filed as a demand for non-payment of rent. As such, you've got certain rights as a defendant in a landlord-tenant proceeding, including the right to hire an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, you could ask legal aid to represent you or seek other legal advice. We don't have court-appointed counsel for civil cases, but you do have a right to have an attorney. You have a right to have the matter heard here in St. Joseph County where the property is. You have a right to demand a jury trial. If you want a jury trial, you must tell me here at the first hearing or make the demand in writing within 5 days and pay the $50 jury demand fee. If you can't afford the fee, you can ask for a waiver, and if the court grants it, you can file it with a waiver. If your landlord has asked you to be evicted from a residential property because you haven't paid rent, you may be able to get assistance from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, a local coordinated entry agency. In our case, that is Community Action Agency, a local assessment and resource agency, housing assessment and resource agency. In our case, that is Neighborhood Inc. Or if you're a veteran, you may be eligible for some veterans assistance. You do not need a judgment against you to get help from the places listed above. Copy of the complaint and summons are sufficient. You've already received that. If both parties are interested in trying to resolve the matter through mediation, the court can help facilitate that and refer the matter to the Citizens Mediation Authority, Inc. for an attempted mediated settlement. And if the matter is settled through some sort of a conditional order of dismissal, we can assist you in finding that conditional order of dismissal or providing you with a copy of it. I received a proposed judgment that says rent at this point is only $70. Is that correct, Ms. Anderson?
Yes, Your Honor. So the whole story with what's been going on is so there was a payment made late in March, and then the case commenced, and court fees were assessed to the defendant. And then since then, defendant has been paying on time, but hasn't accounted for the late fees that have been associated with the court costs not being paid. And so essentially the rent to retain, because of the way that payments are applied to back rent, we take out the first or the oldest payments first, and so it comes back to be
so
rent as $70.
He carries a late fee every month.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Olson, what's your opinion about that?
Okay, so I paid my rent on the 20th, and then I noticed that nothing got actually filed until the 25th. So I was trying to figure out why are we even wasting all of our time doing this when it was paid, and everything's caught up. But I had everything paid before we even got
The lease is due on the 1st. So anything past the 1st is subject to a late fee.
Right, and I paid
And,
the late fee. I'm sorry for the six
all
hundred and
right,
eighty-five dollars.
so you dispute that there is a late fee?
No, I paid the late fee for my rent was 650. They charged me the 685, so I paid the 685 on March 20th for and then they do a service fee, so it's $687.95. And I paid that. So I didn't dispute the late fee for that.
Yeah, that was the demand for non-payment of rent filed
Right.
March 11th. So you
Yeah.
paid that,
Mhm.
and so I'm not sure what happened. So I guess what was, they alleged, all right, so you paid it.
Mhm.
They said,
I could pull up the ledger.
well, they gave you
I can
7
share it on
days
screen.
from March 11th to pay $685. And you paid it on the 20th.
Mhm.
So that was 2 days late.
Right.
How much is the late fee? $35 a month.
$35.
Yes.
So they allege that you're 2 months behind on the late fee. But we've got court costs of $199.15. So he acknowledges costs, but boy, they didn't waste any time. They gave you 7 days. You're claiming you paid on the 20th.
Yep. Yeah. I
No,
forwarded
no,
okay.
they filed, they dated the complaint March 18th, so they did it on the 7th day. So they had filed the complaint before you made the payment. So the
Mhm.
court costs are not gonna be disputed. So what's in dispute are the late fees. And no one's here from the complex to address it. So if you wish to contest that, then I guess we could set it for a subsequent hearing. What's your thought, Ms. Anderson?
Um, it sounds like there is somewhat agreement that the payments, at least the initial payment that kind of started everything was late. Um, I I understand that there's some dispute as to I guess the timing with it, but I don't know if there's.
Well, I'm not sure how we get two late fees because he's given a demand for possession for non-payment on March
Mhm.
11th. You
Right.
file the complaint 7 days later on March 18th. At least it's dated that day. It was filed on March 25th. So he makes the payment, according to him, on March 20th. So he made the payment 5 days before you filed the complaint. Still asking for rent. Now, maybe the check hadn't cleared or I don't know. So that would theoretically be one late fee. But if he paid 685, I guess the theory is, well, what is the theory? That he's behind on the court costs?
Yes, so on, like you said, on March 20th, he did pay the 685 to cover for March rent. The court costs had already been assessed onto the ledger. And then in April and in May, he did pay rent on time, but because there was still that balance of court costs, there was still technically a balance owed by the day that all rent should have been paid. And so technically, maybe I should have put it under other money due, but there's a late fee assessed in April and in May because of
Well,
that.
all right. So that's the explanation. You'd paid the 685. There's timing issues. So what you then owed is the court cost, filing fee and service fee, which was 199. That wasn't paid in April or May, so they assessed a $35 late fee for each of those months. And then there's some exchange between you and the company.
Yeah. The charge that I got for court costs says $170.61.
Yeah, so the
Well, let's take,
explanation For that, I can explain. So typically when we file cases, our clients will put on an estimated court cost, and then typically we don't know the official court costs until around the time of the first hearing. And so that just hasn't been changed yet from the estimated
So
to the
that
actual.
it's 68 filing fee. What's unknown is the service fee. And the service fee here was 56.15. And then the attorney fee is 75. Well, that comes out to 199.15. Let me do this again. 68
And that's the number,
plus 56.19 plus 75 is what, so the actual is 199.19.
or 199.15, I believe. But yeah, so the 170.61 that's on the ledger is just the estimated
50.
court cost before we know the actual cost, so that there's still some, still the costs that are owed to the landlord while we file the case.
All right, I see the exchange between Mr. Olson and his landlord, and he's saying, hey, wait a minute. And the landlord says, suck it up and move on, pay what you owe or move. But nothing is a foregone conclusion. So what is required, unless we can resolve the matter, is we continue the matter for 7 days. Next Monday is Memorial Day, so we'd have to continue it into Friday, May 31st, which would be 11 days. What's your position, Mr. Olson? The actual court costs are 199.15, but the late fees are disputed.
Right. I guess my main thing was I don't even see why court was necessary, because I mean it was all taken care of. Like you said, it was filed
Well, it
on the
wasn't. You
25th.
filed it late. They gave you 7 days to pay it and you didn't pay it. So on the 7th day, they filed the action. So they had an attorney fee, a service fee, and a court cost. So you paid 2 days later, but then 5 days later, they filed the action.
Right.
But
That's why I'm kind of confused about all of it. That's all.
okay, so do you want to have a hearing on this?
Huh?
Would you like to have a hearing?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to waste more time, but at the same time, I don't know why it could have been, notified before, I don't know.
Well, I suppose it could have, but this isn't my idea. They brought the action. I don't know if they have any discretion to split the difference and you pay one and they eat one, or I don't know. They're asking for the entire amount. So we can set this for a hearing and bring somebody in under oath and have them testify as to what happened. Or you can simply acknowledge that you owe $70 in April and May's late fees, $199.15 in costs, for a total of $269.15. And that would be due by May 30th. And then you'd pay that, and then you'd be squared away again starting in June. So if you want to do that, we can do that. If you want to set it for a hearing, we can set it for a hearing.
Right. I wouldn't have an issue with paying the court fee, but the late fees, I'm still kind of like, why am I, getting knocked for late fees on a court cost? I was kind of basically, when the whole court cost thing came to me, it was like, well, I want to go to court and actually see what's going on before I start, doing all this stuff.
All right. If you want to have a hearing, we'll set it for a 1 or 2 hour hearing and have somebody come in and testify under oath.
Judge, I would ask if would that be even necessary? I don't know if there's any real defense that we have. We were well within our legal rights to file when we did and assess court costs, and
yes,
I don't know if that would yield any.
There's a dispute as to the costs, and you're not a witness. You're representing what the thing is. They'd have to call the manager or somebody to report from the ledger. It won't take 2 hours, but it would take a while. He disputes it. And the whole business about when things got posted. he paid on the 20th, you filed the action on the 25th. So at that point, it was no late fee. It was court costs only. And he wasn't informed of that. Hey, court costs are still due until he got served with a lawsuit. So it's up to you, Mr. Olson. I'm not going to make you do it. If you want to get it over with, you can agree to pay $269.15 by the end of the month. If you want to have a hearing, it'll be live here at the courthouse, and we can take testimony about how all this went down.
Mhm. Well, as crappy as things are at work, I really can't afford to miss more time either. I work over at Morgan Olson, and if you know anything about them right now, it's not been.
Well, they've been up and down. First, they were going great guns, and then they've been laying people off, and so I'm not sure. I get my little
time frame
snippets
was
of.
kind of when I got caught up in everything, what was going on here, where we've been working. They moved us to 4 10-hour days, and then they've been cutting us down where we have one full week off at the beginning of the month. And then it was like, now sometimes it's like we might work 4 days a week or 3 days a week. And it's just kind of like, it's been madness.
How to plan your budget with employment like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to you. I'm willing to go either way. If you simply consent that you owe $269 by the end of the month plus 15 cents, this matter will be done. And you can start fresh in June. If you want to have a hearing, we'll schedule one.
Yeah, I just want to get it over with.
I would
Honestly.
also encourage, I mean, obviously I can't speak too much with my client out here, but I would encourage you also to speak with them. I don't know if we want to push this out a week just to have a second hearing or not. I hate to, again, take more of the court's time and your time, Mr. Olson, but we could, if you want to speak with John Clark or your landlord and try to see if we can come up to an agreement, we can do that. But also,
Well,
if you're
Mr.
willing
Clark's
to do the judgment.
email was not very conciliatory. So I paid my rent. I'm not sure what more you want from me, the court fee and the 2 late charges to your court fee. You're not a victim here. Pay what's owed and move on. So that's their attitude. Not only are you wasting my time, you're wasting the judge's time over nothing. So it's not very conciliatory. So Mr. Olson, do you agree to pay $269.15 within the next 10 days?
Yeah, I can do it. I don't want to waste any more time. And like I said, I can't really take work off.
I'm here anyway.
I know.
Get $7.95 an hour whether I'm here or not. If I was in California, I'd get $20 an hour. All right. We've made an agreement. You have 3 business days. If you change your mind or you misunderstood what we were doing here, or you felt like you were coerced, but I'm going to enter a consent judgment in the amount of $269.15 by the 30th of May. And of course, June 1st, another month's rent is due.
Right. Are they going to update their paying thing or whatever, I guess, for me? Because I pay online through their website.
The ledger you mean with the court costs? Is that what you're talking about? The ledger with the court costs? I'll make sure that I'll let them know that they need to do that and make sure that total amount is on there. I'll do the best I can to make sure
You don't want to keep carrying these late fees.
Right.
All right, Mr. Olson.
The only thing it'll say now is that I owe $235 instead of the full price. So man, if they got to update it so I can
$269.15.
Yeah.
I'll do my best to make sure that gets updated.
I'm not sure how this guy thinks his argument's going to work. It doesn't matter when you cash your check, rent is due on the 1st. I can't even say I give him credit for trying such a dumb play. He would have done better just saying that he was late and working to get back on track. I'm sure those places don't have a history of forgiving late fees, but I'm sure they wouldn't entertain his argument of what does it matter. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed them.
All right, thank you.